cater to the needs of the client. Job order costing is a method of allocating the cost of production to a single manufacturing job. When each output is unique from the others, the system is used. This technique establishes the pricing of each distinct product and makes sure that it is affordable enough for customer to buy it, while still enabling the business to turn a profit. A job cost record for each item recorded in the job order costing system should include information on the materials needed to build the item, the number of employees who work on it, how long it took to make, and the manufacturing overhead costs for that product. There are three types of costs that are typically included in job order costing, which are direct material, direct labor, and overhead costs.
Next, we proceed with why should service company use job order costing? According to Libertas Research, service organizations should apply job order costing because the services and associated charges are unique to each client. For example, housekeeping and consultation that are given by the companies to their clients should be charged differently based on times and types of job that will be provided. It is absolutely different from the product-based business such as clothing or shoes that sell physical and tangible items by displaying them on a website or in a physical store. There are two reasons why service companies should apply job order costing. So firstly, the ability to make optimal pricing decisions. Secondly, the ability to discover the successful jobs and recreate them. And lastly, the ability to identify the jobs that will result in a loss of revenue to either improve or eliminate them. Firstly, service companies should apply job order costing because of the ability to make optimal pricing decisions. So we all know that service companies usually keep track of their costs based on the customer instead of by products. So when deciding on the right price for a service business usually use a different method for each service that will be provided, which is based on the current market condition, the profitability, the indirect cost, and the most important part is the customer willingness and ability to spend. So actually, job order costing helps the service company by figuring out how much a product or a service really costs to make. So if company knows what is desired gross profit margins, so they can easily figuring out how much money that needs to be bring in order to achieve the gross profit margin. Secondly, service companies should apply job order costing because of the ability to discover the successful jobs and recreate them. Job order costing can help the business by figuring out what kinds of jobs or customers that bring in the most money. When a company looks at its income, expenses, and gross profit margins for each type of employee and client, they might be surprised by what it might find. So the company may find that small projects that don't bring in a lot of money are easier to streamline because they take less time, they have the lowest price, but actually they bring in the most money. And also, a business may find out that because of how it is operation or costs are set up, its biggest profit margins are come from its biggest projects or clients. So when the business can figure out which projects or clients that bring in the most money, they can check its accounts, method, and also their sales. Lastly, service companies should apply job order costing because of the ability to identify jobs that result in loss of revenue to either improve or eliminate them. So in service industries, the project or clients that need the most time for employees, especially from the higher level employees, have a tendency to be the fewest profitable. This is especially true for high level employees. So if the company fails to impose enough of price charge on these accounts to meet the additional direct cost of labor, then the profit margins are likely going to decrease despite the fact that the revenue has also increased. When the company is able to establish which projects or clients have the lowest profit margins for the company, they have the option of removing them from the company altogether or modifying their pricing models in order to raise those margins.
Next, we will look at how service companies apply job order costing for their accumulated costs. While a service business does not have any materials tied to inventory, they could be costs directly connected to a specific project, such as travel or supplies. Firstly, determine the services and their requirement. This is a critical stage since it allows you to determine an estimate for the work you will be doing. For an example, when performing audit service, you must understand how far your client wishes you to audit their company, the staff who must be assigned to the task, the capacity of your labor, and the amount of electricity consumed. Secondly, the next step is to calculate the cost of carrying out this job. This expense should be divided into direct and indirect costs, which include direct material, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. Adding up all of these costs will give you an idea of the total cost you will incur when completing this action for your client. Next, choosing the allocation base. Direct labor hours are the most frequent allocation base because overhead is often driven by it in a service company. The service provider costs customer for overhead expense using a predetermined overhead rate to calculate actual overhead cost incurred. We need to calculate the predetermined overhead first, then compare the actual overhead with the applied overhead. Fourthly, receiving the order. Once the direct and indirect expenses have been estimated, they are combined and presented to the client to provide a work estimate. If the customer is satisfied with the cost, the order can be placed and the services can begin. If the client already makes the payment, then the company can receive the cash. Next, keeping track of job cost sheet. While the job is being done, you must keep a job cost sheet to track the actual material and labor spent. This form will assist you in determining whether the real cost of doing the task differ from your estimation. If they differ significantly, it suggests that either your estimation or manufacturing process may be improved. Last but not least, improve cost management. Once the services is completed, you must adjust the actual cost by including any additional expenditure incurred while performing the work in comparison to the estimation provided to the customer, such as the actual overhead incurred. This assists in removing unnecessary or underused expenditure and revising it in accordance with the completed task.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today I would like to present about the comparison of how service and manufacturing companies allocate costs. Before we go through, I will explain the definition for both companies. Manufacturing company is the company that processing of raw materials or parts into finished good through the use of tools, human labor, machinery, and chemical processing. Service companies sell their services to the client and usually charge them by the hour for the service rendered. In job order costing, job cost sheets are used by businesses to collect related costs under appropriate jobs. This sheet may differ from one firm to another firm. Some service companies only collect direct labor costs, whereas manufacturing companies collect both direct materials and direct labor. The general concept of collecting job-related costs remains the same in all cases. Moreover, jobs in service organization may differ from those in manufacturing firm. A job in a manufacturing firm usually refers to a product or group of products produced. The definition of employment in service organization varies depending on the industry. So, let's take a look for the first cost. Direct material. Direct material are items used in manufacturing process that can be easily traced back to a product. For example, steel and boots are direct materials in automobile manufacturing. Direct material costs are typically the largest cost center in a manufacturing firm. Many service organizations do not track direct materials for each job because the cost of the material is insignificant. For example, accountants use low-cost materials such as binder and paper. These materials, also known as supplies, are added to overhead rather than tracked by job. The next, direct labor. An employee who is directly involved in the manufacturing of a product is considered direct labor. Direct labor costs are always variable costs because they fluctuate with production costs. In the service industry like accounting and law firm, there are two types of direct labor, which are fixed costs and variable costs. When a company relies on salary workers to provide service, its total direct labor costs are a fixed expense. Direct labor costs are variable when based on hourly employees. The last one, manufacturing overhead. The overhead costs might be similar within service companies and manufacturing companies. In a service organization or a manufacturing company, overhead is typically driven by direct labor hour or direct labor cost is the common allocation base. Most companies allocate the manufacturing overhead using the predetermined rate to calculate actual manufacturing overhead costs. To sum up, both companies have a little bit differences to allocate the direct material and direct labor costs and also have the similarity on allocate overhead costs. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum and hi to everyone. I am HUSNINA NADIAH binti Mohd SHUKRI and my matrix number is 120843. And now I will explain on my topic, which is the advantages of job order costing. As I discovered during my research on this topic, I found a lot of the advantages when the company applied the job order costing method in their accounting system. Job order costing is an effective method for determining the prices cost needed for materials and labor for particular jobs, as well as for allocating overheads to job at a predetermined rate incurred before manufacturing an item in operations. One of the advantages is, when applying job order costing, it's helped managers to obtain relevant information on manufacturing expenses. This further helping them to assess profitability and decide whether the organization should create the specific item. Other than that, this system makes it more easier for the manager to considering a new manufacturing job, assessing costs and calculating profit margin. The data and analytical capabilities that provided by job order costing system help many companies in solving these issues. Next, it helps managers to predetermine the cost of particular activity separately and estimate the profit margin earned on a specific work. Because job order costing system enables an organization to perform in-depth analysis, including the cost of supplies and even the cost of scrap and rework that has been performed on jobs. Furthermore, job order costing is useful for determining which operations are more profitable for the company and whether a particular career would be appealing to pursue in the future. This system also provides a reasonable manufacturing quote that help a lot to who want to get comprehensive statistics on specific production operation. Moreover, the jobs order costing method also produce continuous result for each jobs. The managers can utilize a job order costing system to track expenses as they are added rather than waiting until the job is finished. This thing will help the accounting team to just keep an eye on job accounts and fix it immediately if costs are being sent to the wrong account. The cap of information in job order costing help the businesses assess its own effectiveness and create plans to better control expenses in the future by modifying processes or staffing. Finally, job order costing enables businesses to monitor the usage of their fixed asset, such as manufacturing machinery. This makes it easier to allocate overhead equally among the tasks inside the organization and determine how much is assigned to each asset. That's all from me. Thank you.
Next, I will explain on the disadvantages of using job order costing method. One of the main disadvantages of implementing job order costing is that tracking and recording the expenses associated with each individual job may be time-consuming and labor-intensive. This may be a substantial challenge for business that produce many similar items or services, since the cost tracking process can become unnecessarily complex. Another one is that it may be insufficient situation when there is substantial overlap or reliance between various jobs or projects. For example, if a business manufactures numerous different goods that are used identical materials or methods, assigning costs to project might be challenging. This might result in a lack of accurate data about the actual cost of creating each product. Furthermore, job order costing can be less useful in service-oriented companies that are not able to link the cost to individual products or services. This is because service companies tend to be less tangible than product-based companies, making it more difficult to accurately track the costs associated with each job.
Moreover, system for job order costing leave a massive paper trail. They operate using these papers as a framework. This leads to numerous difficulties. To sort through this documentation, businesses must hire many clerical workers, which increases the overhead that task order pricing aims to reduce. In addition, considering that overheads are based on estimates, one of the primary weaknesses of job order costing, overheads are not always known with the accuracy in the early phases of a project. Therefore, this approach is depending on empirical data as well as the experience and knowledge of specific professionals. On top of that, job order costing does not provide an efficient method for reducing overhead expenses. Estimates are often used only for quotations. The management is aware that these quotes are frequently inaccurate and can be used as a foundation for the cost control measures.
In conclusion, the implementation of job order costing has its own benefits and disadvantages. Job order costing method may record the costing of a manufacturing process very precisely. However, this method may not be suitable for all manufacturing companies. Most people may think that the job order costing method is only applicable to manufacturing firms. However, some service firms also use this method to record their monthly expenses and costs. One of the main reasons of why some service firms apply this method is because of their services that are unique to each client. In the end, job order costing is a very good method in managing costs. Whether it is a manufacturing or service company, this method will help them in controlling their expenses.